So you're opening a new business. What should you do with experiential marketing? You look at the other marketing tools like social media. Like everybody's doing social media. And that's great. For me, experiential marketing stands out because you're building an actual sort of relationship with the brand.
Hi, I'm Josh Owen. As the owner of a video marketing company in New Orleans, I've been on the quest to learn everything I can about marketing. Everyone has a different style, different strategy, and a different experience. Is there a wrong way to do it? A right way to do it? Let's find out together as we make marketing make sense. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Make Marketing Make Sense. Today, I'm joined with Mariska Morse, the fabulous, here from one of the co-founders at Salon 22, but also... what else is it?
There's so much.
There's just so much. I just feel like it's an endless list. You just can't keep still, you know? You just keep moving and moving.
It is part of my DNA. I blame my mother all the way.
Wow.
Vice President of Development for the Forte Foundation.
Ooh, fabulous.
And then you and I met on the American Marketing Association board.
I got a call with them today.
You did? Did I miss it? Was I supposed to be on it?
Not with the board. The actual organization, the big boys.
Oh, the big boys.
The big boys are calling me down. I'm like, all right, I guess here I go. No one wants to hear about that, but that's cool. We're talking about it.
That's wonderful. That's great.
Yeah. But, you know, we're not here to talk about the AMA. We're here to talk about busting myths. Are we? What? Oh, my God. That's the wrong title. I was like, what? I didn't read that.
I know. I'm like, what myths are we busting?
We're here to bust some myths. If you don't bust at least one myth, I'm gonna be real pissed. All right. We're here to talk about the importance of. We're here to talk about the importance of experiential marketing.
Yes, we are.
And you have had a lot of experience with experiential marketing.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. But really. I think that word gets thrown around a lot, and it's being used more and more. And I'm noticing a lot of people are really trying to push for it, especially because we're trying to be so relational-based. What, to you, is experiential marketing, and how is it beneficial to a business?
It's actually not a new concept, but I think why it's become like a little bit more of a buzzword or talked about or trending is, I guess it's value, right? But for years we've been doing... trade shows and booths and events, but it's been called different things. Mm-hmm. So it's been called more recently activation, but back in the day it was considered more under event marketing or PR. But when you look at those experiences with sort of a more strategic lens, what experiential marketing means to me and why it really stands out in kind of the marketing sphere of best of the best tools is because it allows your brand to become tangible. Touch it, feel it, smell it, experience it. You know, when you look at the other marketing tools of, and again, these are tools, not sort of objective strategies, but something like social media. Like everybody's doing social media. And that's great and it's important and that has to be out there. Advertising, email marketing, you name it, right? The list is long. But for me, experiential marketing stands out because you're building an actual sort of relationship with the brand. And the rest of it, to me, is a more static. Now, you could probably do an experiential marketing activation and have social media incorporated. Right. It depends on what the product or service is, product or service that you're trying to highlight. But at the end of the day, I love it because you can take sort of any product or service, create an experience, and it gives the consumer, it's almost like a test drive. Like if you're buying a car, right? You go to the dealership instead of just looking at the brochure or, you go out for a test drive. And even if some places will kind of let you have I bought a computer recently and they're like, you can have it for 3 months. Within 3 months, you can return it. I'm like, I can take this home for 3 months and still return it.
That's quite an experience, yeah.
Now, they're not curating the experience for me, right? They're just saying, take it home. So I could sort of think of ways for them to sort of enhance that. But in this 3-month period, I'm either building a relationship with this, I'm either loving it or hating it,
Yeah.
right? And they're leaving that up to me. Whereas I like experiential marketing when it's curated because you can develop the experience for the consumer and make sure that it's helping them touch, feel, smell,
Yeah.
and kind of build that brand affinity.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Like, when in helping to define experiential marketing, what are some of the activities that are involved with that? And like you were just mentioning, like I can think of ways to make it better. Like, what are the best ways to really experience experiential marketing?
Well, that goes with what are the product attributes that you're trying to emphasize. So I'll give you an example. Years ago with the Forte Foundation, and Forte is a nonprofit that supports the advancement of women in business. It doesn't get more sort of intangible than
That's
that.
what I was going to say. That's a mission right there,
It's a mission, but that is like, okay, so this
Yeah.
is what we're selling,
Yeah.
right? This is
Yeah.
what we're selling to, so the constituent are women, right?
Right.
And the revenue comes from companies and schools and what have you. So on the marketing side, the objective was to attract more women in college to to sort of the Forte programs. So we did conferences. There's a membership. So basically, what we're delivering to the constituents was ways to sort of help them launch a successful career through programs, events, networking, education, blah blah. So we created a booth experience at the a college leadership conference. So imagine the top leaders across undergrad campuses all coming together for a conference, right? So that was our target market.
Right.
We were in a space with our target market, but how could we make Forte stand out from just handing out a brochure? Because that's what most of the other
Right.
companies were doing, right? And this is a really valuable like market.
Right.
But I had to make my product or my service seem real and not just a brochure. So we created this activation booth where the students would come in. They had like a little passport, and there were 5 different activities. One of them was standing in front of these huge wings from a famous artist that was out of LA. And that, this the selfie generation.
Yeah.
So they could selfie in front of the wings.
Yeah.
There were little signs that they could hold, like future CEO.
Right.
And
that's cool,
then guess what? Dual benefit, because not only are they like, what? Then they're going and
Posting
posting.
it, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And tagging us
Right.
and all that. Because if you did all 5 activities, then your name was entered into a raffle for a big old prize. So another activity was creating a personal pitch,
Yeah.
or you practice your personal pitch on me, and I
Yeah.
give you feedback. Another was spin the wheel and the myth. What did you say earlier about
Busting
busting?
myths?
Yes,
Oh,
see,
you're
it was
busting some
coming.
myths.
Hey,
We busted myths right here. Hey!
We came back to it.
We always
came
come back.
back to it.
Listen, that's how I know you're a quality guest. You know how to do it. All right.
So anyway, point is, without going on and on, there were 5 different activities that helped bring
Yeah.
sort of this idea of a career takeoff,
Yeah.
what we were providing them to life, so that they would join the Forte Foundation and become sort of part of all the programs and
Yeah.
conferences.
Yeah.
So that's one example, but I mean, give me, I don't know, challenge me, like jambalaya.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, let me think of something. Jambalaya.
Oh my God, what a great idea. So here we live in sort of jambalaya headquarters, right? But I don't know, the people of Baltimore don't really get the culture of New Orleans.
Yeah.
So if I'm selling jambalaya in Baltimore, then maybe I'm throwing some kind of little Mardi Gras party and serving jambalaya so that you, let's say it's
Yeah.
Louisiana fish fry or
Right.
it's Zatarans or
Yeah.
something. Zatarans has the jazz man on the box. Well, how can you bring the jazz man?
Yeah.
And this is horrible that I'm talking about Zatarans because my husband works for the competition.
Oh,
but
no.
nonetheless,
Well, maybe, stealing the secrets is the key,
but if you're bringing like the jazz man to life
Yeah.
with the jambalaya, you're creating the feeling around eating jambalaya that we know so well here in New Orleans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
whether it's the music, the beads, the vibe of New Orleans when serving jambalaya, then it becomes an experience, and you're not just buying a box of
Yeah.
rice in the grocery store.
Right. You're attaching a story to that box when you're going to look for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
and now
that.
now I have a relationship
Right.
with the product
Yeah.
as opposed to it
Yeah.
just being like, oh, I need something quick to put on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Now if I'm, I don't know, going home and it's been a long day and I'm serving jambalaya, well, maybe I'm going to turn on some
Yeah.
jazz music.
Yeah.
You know.
As you do, a little razzmatazz, play a little saxophone. So when it comes to setting up a campaign, like an experiential marketing campaign, do you have like a process that you follow to kind of build it? Or is there some, right steps when it comes to building it?
There's always has to be a process, right? Because chaos gets you nowhere.
Right.
So, sort of a methodology, a process, steps, strategy, whatever you want to call it. But first and foremost is always what's the objective? What are we trying to do, right? Okay, we're trying to sell more jambalaya, or we're trying to sign up the undergraduate students into Forte. Or we're trying to get more donors, right? So what's the objective? And then what is sort of the product or service, the brand that we're trying to promote here? And again, this can't exist by itself. You have to have all of the other awareness builders around it, because otherwise the experience becomes that much harder.
Yeah.
Like it can't sort of exist in a silo. And then there's a little bit of so like it becomes part of the strategy. So okay, if this is one piece of our sort of marketing playbook of doing an experiential sort of activation campaign, then there has to be sort of the pre, the actual, and the post. And sometimes people forget the post, right? It's like they go through all this work to build it up, to do the activation, and then they don't do any of the follow-up.
Follow-through,
The follow-through is critical.
Yeah.
It's like closing the deal. So you need all three of those parts. Obviously, brainstorming the experience is the most fun.
Yeah.
Of like, well, what kind of experience do we want to create? And making sure that the way that you are creating the touch, feel, smell is aligned with the brand values. Because I don't know, you don't want to go set up in a bar if it's an undergraduate student, thing that you're selling.
Like, I guess it depends on what kind of undergrad you're looking for,
Just like trying to think of what would be brand misaligned. But so you want to make sure the values align, that the brand attributes align, and so whatever experience you're creating should make sense. Right.
And I'm kind of curious too when you say like the follow through, because you were talking about it, and before we go off topic of that, is like what's the right best way to do the follow through? What are you looking to achieve with the follow through? A lot of people, it's an afterthought, but in a lot of ways I think it should be like the goal. Like that's the goal. That's the metric you're looking for.
It's what I call the
closer.
closer.
Exactly.
Right.
And so what are you looking for when you're trying to do that?
Well, again, it depends a little bit on the audience, and I always say it depends, but the concept is the same. So I'll give like Culture Nola, which is a local nonprofit, and they do food distributions twice a week. Well, one of the best ways for prospective donors to understand kind of the need is to be on site and hand out sort of this fresh produce and food to people that have been in line for 4 or 5 hours. I mean, they line up at 4 in the morning, right? And then when you're standing there and you're handing these individuals who are going through this line food, that it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And the experience, because the organization tries to have music, but my point is, to answer your question, what the prospective donors just had this powerful experience where they are seeing firsthand the need. So my goodness, like a phone call the next day, or wait till Monday morning, but pretty quickly you grab them when they've just are coming out of this really powerful experience.
Talk about it with them.
Absolutely. And so in that case, it's it's a prospective donor, maybe it's a phone call, right, from the executive director. Like, what did you think? Is this something that you think is important? Can you be a part of our mission to mitigate hunger in New Orleans? But if it's something where, oh my gosh, you just had created an experience and there's 1,000 people coming through, well then obviously it's more of an email. or some sort of, because you got to target that audience.
Yeah.
One thing I'd suggest is when you're creating the experience to almost set the expectation that you're going to hear from us.
Yeah.
We want you to be part of our community, part of our brand, part of our life,
Right.
Whatever your call to action
Right.
is. And if you're setting that up front, then that follow-up email is not going to be like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Well, because I guess and the other thing, and you're making my wheels turn about it because let's say you have an experience where people come on your podcast and they talk to you on your podcast, or even back to your example where people are experiencing this food donations and everything like that and handing out food. Is it too soon to immediately try and make a call to action sale right after that experience, or should you what should you lead them through some hoops afterwards, or where does that usually fall in that?
I think you got to, I say this to my son sometimes. He doesn't like to hear it, but you got to read the room a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So if first of all, if they're giving you vibes where they're rushing out, oh my God, that was amazing, but I got to go. Well, that's not the time. But if they're sort of walking away feeling like, wow, my mind has just been blown. I can't believe that we just had 100 people standing in line for 2 bags of food. This has really opened my eyes, and they start talking about how they're feeling. Well, then it is it's thank you so much. I'm so glad you were here to be a part of this. We would love for you to continue to be a significant part of solving this problem. So I think each situation is a little bit different. If it's, I don't know, it's a setup at the convention center and you've got a basketball court and you're trying out sneakers and you got that kind of vibe. So it depends a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to know your audience.
Right.
That, okay, well, an email's really not going to get their attention.
Yeah.
My college kids don't respond to emails.
Yeah.
Forget about it. I've got to snap them or chat them or.
Yeah. That's a good point. It's getting them hey, how am I going to contact you after this?
Yeah. And then what is that? So what's the right? But if, again, it's managing those expectations so they know. Hey, so you can either grab them when they're on the spot, oh my God, you love those sneakers? Well, let's go. You can get them right now.
Yeah.
So you can close the deal right then, or if, depending on the situation, that's not possible.
Because I guess what you're saying, almost there needs to be a journey that happens all the way through it. Hopefully these potential donors or they're already donors that show up, this isn't just their first time showing up out of the blue, but you've had a whole journey with them, and this is just a part of that journey.
This is
to
part
help
of that journey.
Enhance that experience.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I think that this applies to whether it's for-profit, nonprofit. Is you can't speak to any of your prospective customers in a one-off and expect there to be a payout, right? What do we say? At least marketers always say at least 7 times.
Right.
You've got to hit them in multiple ways. So if this is their first time experiencing the brand, I don't know. It depends a little bit whether you can close them right then.
Yeah.
But this then goes back to the developing the plan up front, the pre, the during, the post. So you're going to know based on that strategic plan whether this target audience has already been introduced.
Right.
Is this
where they fall into the sales pipeline?
Is this a new product and your experience is introducing it for the first time?
Yeah.
Or has this been in the market for a while? And, so that's all got to play into it. But I think, again, if we just go back to the essence of experiential marketing, we're in an age where people want things curated. They want it how I want it, when I want it. How, that's why something like a Salon 22, these specialized co-working spaces, because I'm tired of the coffee shop and sitting with everyone.
Yeah.
I want to have a coffee shop vibe, but it's in the kind of space I want, where I want, with the people I want, right?
Yeah. That sounds good to me. I love being with the people I want. Come on down.
I call it my vibe, my tribe.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And to kind of sum it all up too, I guess, especially because you're working with Salon 22, really building this thing up from the ground is, what are some advices that you've kind of seen for yourself, but also for other prospective business owners that are trying to jumpstart their businesses? What are some great ways that they can utilize experiential marketing to benefit their business?
I mean, again, it goes back to depending on the product or service, but like a Salon 22, we want people to come in and see, touch, feel the space, right? Like, I don't care what co-working space you go to around town or around the country. Most of them are very daytime work experiences, meaning you go in, you work, you leave. Like that's kind of the point. But Salon 22 is different in that we're building a community. So yeah, we want you to get your work done, but we also want you to meet the people that are there and understand that you are sort of intentionally that the concept is to meet other women outside your lane, outside your bubble,
Right.
and that's why we've set up the space the way it has with soft seating and kind of hard seating with a cafe in the back and a bar that's always open, and so that and I mean for coffee, tea, and wine, but that it's a community that we're building, and that the staff that's there is always facilitating introductions. So it's not so we host events and we invite guests in because we want them to experience the space, right? So if you're just starting a business, same thing. Like you've got to get out in the community. You've got to give people small. It goes back to who goes to Costco, right?
I go to Costco.
Age
Yeah,
old.
those hot dogs, that's a value right there. I'll tell you what, you know.
Age old strategy of sampling. Costco hits sampling out of the park.
Yeah.
Now, if you bite, one thing of a cracker and cheese, you're not going to be like, oh my God, I just had an experience.
Yeah.
But it's where it started,
Yeah.
right? Is sample the product. Now take that sample idea and make it bigger. If you're selling cheese, well then maybe you're doing a workshop on how to select different cheeses to make the most amazing cheese board.
Yeah,
Right? Like
right.
is St. James Cheese Company going around town and doing, cheese workshops?
They should.
Exactly. There's a woman I just met, Ashley, who opened Sorrento out in Lakeview, I think. She just did a big grand opening.
Like the Sorrento cheese?
Well, it's not that cheese, but it's maybe the same meaning.
Oh, I don't know anything about that word. Yeah, I'll believe it.
It's TEUXSORREN.
toe.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And she opened, and so anyway, point is, she to help introduce her space and products to New Orleans, she's going around and doing charcuterie workshops, like how to create a beautiful charcuterie board, right?
Yeah.
You do that if you're opening a florist shop.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways, but so you're opening a new business. What should you do with experiential marketing? Create ways for your target customer to experience the brand. Okay.
As small or large, start small and go large.
I mean, again, you got to keep budget in mind, right? So you don't want to be I don't know. I mean, if you got a large budget, you could do anything. But
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess at this point,
most,
I have a
most
large
startup
budget.
companies don't have a large
Yeah.
budget. So, like, I'm a big proponent of trade relationships. You got something, I got something. Let's work together.
And build
So
off that.
yeah, start there.
Yeah.
Look, like some space like Salon 22, yes, please come in and do a charcuterie workshop. How wonderful for our members. You've created a win-win strategy, and the person reaches their target market. I have a program.
Yeah.
So you gotta. My parents are from the Netherlands. My mom had this saying: "Is roeien met de riemen dat je hebt."
Oh, I love that saying.
It's
I say it
Dutch.
to myself every night.
It's Dutch, and it's work with what you have.
Yeah.
You got to work with what you have,
I love that.
and as marketers, we're creative. So
If there's anyone that's worked with what they had, it's the Dutch. I'll say how much. Before we get too off topic, we're gonna wrap it up there because I think you got to work with what you got is a great way to sum it up. Fantastic! Thank you for joining us, Mariska.
My pleasure.
And where can people find you and all the wonderful things you do on the internet?
I am on the LinkedIn, so you can
Ooh,
connect with me on the
okay.
LinkedIn. I'm
All
on
right.
the Instagram,
Okay.
and certainly through Salon 22, which
where do you
is
find Salon
in
22?
Mid-City, 2407 Bienville. Open every day, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then also check out fortefoundation.org, fantastic organization to advance women and working on those gender equity issues. So
Love it. Love all those things. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Mariska.
thanks for having me.
And thank you all for watching, and we'll talk soon. See you
Sounds
on the
good.
next one. Bye.
Bye.
This has been Make Marketing Make Sense, brought to you by Comfystone. If you need video content for social media, your website, or email marketing, hit up Comfystone at comfystone.com and follow Comfystone on Instagram and TikTok. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.